Welcome to Pimovation. My name is Noluthando, also known as the Advocate of Self-Love. This is the platform, the channel, the podcast where beauty meets motivation. So you can be inspired to chase your higher self. So you can be inspired to go after your dreams. So you can be inspired to just go out there and do it. As you know, I always bring you amazing guests, and today is no exception. My guest is Dr. Latasha Blanton. Now, let me give you a bit of background on who she is before I formally introduce her. Dr. Latasha Blanton is a highly accomplished physical therapist and entrepreneur. She holds a Doctor of Physical Therapy degree and has built a successful career in the healthcare field. As a clinic owner, she spent years managing her practice, helping countless patients to achieve improved mobility and quality of life. In addition to her medical career, Dr. Blanton is an entrepreneurial force. Alongside her husband, Mark Blanton, co-owning The Real South Africa, a travel and tourism company, the couple has worked tirelessly to curate unique travel experiences that connect visitors with the rich culture, history, and beauty of South Africa. And as usual, because I had to do that professionally, I'm reading it off the teleprompter. Latasha, thank you so much.
You're very
being
welcome.
Here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making the time.
No, it was a pleasure.
I know you're always busy, up and about.
I'm always doing something. Always doing something.
All the time.
No, really, it's like touch and go.
Mm-hmm. So the reason I wanted to have you here
Sure.
is because from get-go, when I actually came across what you and Mark do on social media, I was always intrigued. By the way, this is not our first conversation.
No, it's
not. We keep on building it out.
We do.
The power of network. So go out there, make friends, and you may never know what will happen. The topic for this season is channeling the fire within to pursue your success. And it's quite evident. You as a person, as an individual, as a woman, you have that fire, the drive, So I just want to start from where everything kind of stems from. America, where you were born and raised. We'll build into it.
Know.
Don't roll your eyes.
I'm like, do we have to talk about that place?
I know.
Do we have to?
That's part of channeling the fire.
It is.
Where did you get the aspiration to become what you have become?
When I think about like how I got here, obviously I think about my elders. My grandmother was a little entrepreneur. I didn't find out until after my grandfather passed that he was also an entrepreneur. So not knowing that that's where I came from and that that's where it all stemmed from, it was like one day it just made sense, like, oh, I'm supposed to work for myself, or I'm supposed to go out there and make things happen for myself. So the motivation, inspiration came from my grandparents. And then they obviously inspired my father, who also owned several businesses when I was growing up. The only difference I would say is that they never really took it to the point to where it was their full source.
Yeah.
It was almost like they were working 2 full-time jobs is kind of how they made it work. And they didn't have I won't say the courage, but that's the only word I can think of. They didn't really have the courage to maybe make it their full-time job, because for me, remembering how they grew up, it was like to take that chance. It was always like it had to be like a side gig, but they still always had like businesses, like they were always doing something. So just realizing that, and then understanding that it was going to take a little bit more for me. I was like, I think I need to see what that looks like if you just step out on faith and put your everything into this one thing and just realize that you cannot fail.
If you step out on faith and just put everything you've got into this one thing. And was there ever a point where you thought, what if it doesn't work?
Absolutely.
And how would you counter that, or how would you get yourself out of that thinking?
Well, the first thing I would do is, and I will liken it to when I'm, very headstrong, like this is something that I know I wanted to do, right? I didn't have a plan B. So not having a plan B, but also thinking what happens if I fail, I'm like, I can't. Like there was no other option for me because I knew that if I failed, I wouldn't just fail myself, I would fail the people before me, the people after me. So there was no, I don't know where you go in your head, but you go to a place where you look for all the answers. You do all the research. You stay up all night ideating. You really try to think of all the solutions versus the problems. And that's kind of how I made it work. I started thinking about what are my solutions and not what my problems actually are.
I love that. So you go to this place and you stay there and
You do.
You actually stick with it. You could have decided to be part of any other, say, medical organization, but you decided, I'm going to open up my own clinic. And where did the audacity come from? Because, I mean, we all think of, starting things. But when you're thinking of now starting an establishment and it thrives, there has to be a level of insane audacity. Where did that come from?
I like the word insane audacity because when I think back to how young I was when I did that, and keeping in mind, I started the business in 2008. Mm-hmm. I didn't come out of PT school until 2004. So I started a business 4 years out of school. Wow. At this point, you were still like wet behind the ears, still fresh, like still trying to like learn how things work. Mm-hmm. And I was lucky, to be honest, because I had been directors of clinics and the directorships were all like new positions. So I was having to come up with plans and models and operation books for these new places. And by that time I was already married to Mark, and I would go, I'm like, I've got to come up with an operation manual. He goes, is that all you have to do?
Yeah.
And his background helped a lot.
Yeah.
So he helped me navigate that whole space initially. And then after a year of watching me do this and doing it better than anybody else, he was like, I think you can do this on your own. Wow. And I was like, well, I want to eventually. He's like, no, the time is now. He was like, I need you to quit your job. At this point, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm making a lot of money. I was making a lot of money, mm-hmm. and I was happy. Actually, that's not true. I was miserable. And I think that's probably why I was happy with my profession. I just hated the place that I worked. Yeah. So let me just be clear about that. And he was like, I want you to quit, mm-hmm. and we're going to figure this out. And that's what we did. I quit. We started slow.
Yeah.
And then eventually, within a year, it was brick and mortar. It was off the ground. And then 6 months after that, I started another clinic. Mm-hmm. So we just continued to expand. I had employees. I had everything you needed to have. And I did that. So to do all that before 30 was like a bit much.
It's exactly.
Yeah, it was a bit much.
Mm-hmm. Right? And what characteristics or even qualities did you have to embody? Because I think we all know with social media and how real-time everything is, mm-hmm. America is not an easy place to crack.
It's not.
And you were young and black.
Young. And a woman.
And a woman, exactly. What did you have to embody for you to be able to establish a successful clinic that has clients that are thriving or are getting the help that they need?
You know, I like that question because when I think about what I really had to embody, it's going to sound crazy, but I had to embody all those things that made people negate me. I had to embody the fact that I was Black, mm-hmm. had to embody the fact that I was a woman. Mm-hmm. You know, those two things in and of itself, I had to really bring into play and say, this is how I'm going to do things on my own terms. Otherwise, I would have been following the top of the food chain in the U.S., which is a white male. So if you think about it, I'm on the extreme opposite.
Yeah.
So they were my competition. White males were my competition, but because I had to embody what they don't have, being a Black woman, I was able to take over the whole area in like 5 years. So.
Oh, I love this. This is such a thing for me, a principle for me. You had to embody what your competitors competitors did not have
Mm-hmm.
or were not.
Yeah.
And that's how you basically took up space.
I did. I took up a lot of space. And my husband was a huge support. He understood that we had to use these things, me being a Black woman, to my advantage, and we did. He did a lot of the marketing. He made sure that people knew who I was, what I offered, and why my clinic was different from a white male-run clinic. And it worked. It worked.
Why was it different, if you don't mind sharing, actually?
Let's just say that my clinic was full of life. And by life, I mean, yes, there's sick people coming in, but you don't have to be sick. Do you know what I mean? So like they may have had an operation or they may have had a shoulder replacement or whatever the case may be. But I had to let them know that that's just a body part. It's not who they were. So I treated the whole person, and I made sure that my employees weren't bogged down with anything. They could only had to see like 10 patients a day, whereas other places you got to see like double that. I gave them time to be with their patients. Just that whole idea of giving you time to treat and care is how I was able to increase my outcomes and increase the quality of care that I was able to provide. And that's what I did.
I really love that. That is so, I'm taking that for myself.
Okay.
I always tell my audience, if you don't tune in and listen, I'm taking all these things for me. And the day I'm a global brand, don't question, because all these principles, all these strategies are right here. And how did you manage to really overcome the challenges? Because without even, going too far, we've already noted you're Black. You're in the medical field in America. There must have been some crazy stuff that went down, because, I mean...
Oh, tons.
Yeah, we know how...
But you know what? When you're winning, it doesn't matter. And I was winning.
Yeah.
I was winning. So even the little things that came up to try to knock us down, we were winning, and we were winning big. And I knew we were winning. And we quit when we wanted to quit. We sold our business when we wanted to sell it. And we sold it for a high dollar. And as far as I'm concerned, I can mark that chapter off and continue to win. So we were winning. So
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, we were
like, it's the comfort we were winning.
We were winning.
We win.
We were winning.
That's what we do.
No, that's really that's what we do.
Right. So you've gotten, you at home, if you are not familiar with Dr. Latasha Blanton, you've gotten some background. So let's bring it home.
Sure.
To South Africa.
Yes.
How did it happen? I mean, you're winning.
I'm winning.
In the dollar. Mark is winning.
In the dollar. Yes.
But you decide, no, we want the czar.
I wanted the czar. I wanted the czar.
How did this happen? How did the real South Africa come about? And why? I think that's the most important question. Why?
Well, let's talk about the why.
Yeah. Okay.
The real South Africa is my husband's brainchild. And it came about because when we would visit South Africa, I didn't see enough. I saw Black people everywhere. Don't misunderstand me. They're everywhere, which I love.
Yeah.
But I didn't see any African Americans enjoying the things that I was enjoying when I was here. And I was like, why are we not here? But I was seeing all other types of persuasions come here, enjoy, have a good time, buy property, start businesses. And I was like, how come we're not here? This is not necessarily the safest place to be, but safe in an aspect of you can be who you are safe. You can be Black safe. You can be a woman safe. Like, that's how we felt. And Mark was like, how come more people don't know? And then he was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start bringing people to South Africa. And that was pretty much it. That happened in the basement of 2014. And
that was
he put his mind to it. We were still at the clinic. We were winning.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So we were winning. So I was like, let's just do it.
How quick was the decision, though? Or how slow was the process?
So he came here for the first time in 2010. He brought me in 11. We stayed 2 months in 13. So three or 4 years, about 4 years.
Now take me through I could say, whether detachment or separation, I don't know how you describe it, from the life the place, the environment that you know, to a completely new place, completely new culture, new environment, new everything. And what were your points of connection? Things that made you go, yes, it's new people, new languages, new culture, new weather, new everything, new political stance and views. But there's connection here.
Our connection actually started on our first visit. Just, and don't judge me. Just
we listen,
we don't judge. Just from the way the air smelled, I was like, this is amazing. And then I met people and they hosted us and they were warm and they were patient. They understood that I wasn't going to be able to say Noluthando Shabalala. They understood that I was going to have a hard time with the clicks. They understood I was going to have a hard time saying things, and they were just patient with me. And I'm like, I've never had anybody be this patient with me as an adult, ever. So then it was like, we started coming. We started building more connections, meet more people. They're still teaching us. We're learning. We're open. We're learning. And then it was like, you know what? What if we can do this? So because we took the time to build the relationship, the disconnect from that side was happening every time we came. So when we made the decision to be here full time, the disconnection was done. We had made up in our minds in 2016, we were going to live in South Africa, come hell or high water. We were going to be here. And the Lord laid out some blocks because we really didn't know how we were going to do it. But he made a plan for us and it worked out perfect because we were winning.
I mean,
because we were winning.
That's all we do with the Blantons. So what I want to, not me as the Blanton.
Sure.
Yes, just be clear. So what I want to understand, channeling the fire within to pursue your success, you had to channel something, whether determination or foresight, to be able to go back. So you come to a foreign land, then you go back to your native land.
Yes, and I do that several times.
Yes. To tell others, right? In fact, as I'm thinking about it, it's like there was a spirit of colonization there because colonizers would come, look, connect, love, and go back and say, actually, you all guys need to come.
But I was doing that in a way where I was bringing good brown people. Good brown people. I'm not colonizing, I promise.
Not at all.
I speak the colonizer's tongue. I eat his food, but I am not a colonizer.
Not at all. I'm just saying that, in everything, even in the negative, there's always a strategic point to it, So how do you then go back to your fellow African Americans and start telling them about South Africa? Because we know that, again, through connection, social media and real-time events and stuff, there's still a lot of ignorance
It
where
took
Africa
time.
is concerned.
It took a lot of time.
How were you able to actually do it?
It took a lot of time. But what happened was we were here so often, the questions started coming in. They're like, why are you always there? What's over there? Why do you keep going back? Every time I turn around, you guys are in South Africa, to the point to where we were here so often. People were like, do you guys live there? Because we were here that often. And because they kept seeing us here doing things, having a good time, it raised the question. And then once the question is raised, then you can give answers and you can say, hey, this is how you do it. And that's basically what we do with The Real South Africa. You see me in my everyday life, travel South Africa. You get inquisitive, you see my social media. And then you schedule a call and you ask, how do I get that? And that's pretty much what we do.
How did the first success story or the first successful, I'd say bring over, feel like? Because it obviously took time, as you said, right?
It did.
And you were working on the principle of, listen, borrow our faith, borrow our belief. This is a great place. Come through. So eventually some people said yes. How did that feel?
when we think about how other people feel, I can never really put into words because I know how I felt when I first got here, and I
Yes.
couldn't put it into words. So what we found is that everybody we bring, whether it's their first time or their 100th time, they always feel a way that they cannot explain. Now, for me, seeing that, understanding that they don't have to say very many words, I know exactly what they're feeling. To see that in real time was amazing.
I love that.
To see it in real, because they're looking at me, I'm looking at them. They don't have the words. They know it's amazing. They're just like, I can't believe I didn't know. And that's really all you can say, because you feel like an idiot for not knowing how beautiful this country is and how beautiful the people are. But when you finally get to taste it, you're like, I want it all the time. I think South Africa's a drug. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Drug.
It's a good drug for me.
I get it. Why do you think, and we've touched on this before, and it's an ongoing online conversation, and I know that certain questions, yes, may seem cliche and stuff, but it's important we keep on asking them so that we drive the message. Why is it that Africa/South Africa, well, let's talk about South Africa because that's really the focus of your business. Why has it been kept away from other people that are not in Africa and not in South Africa?
I think the answer is clear. It has so many beautiful things about it that it's a secret that people want to keep. And and by people, I mean the minority here in the country want to keep it a secret. The minority in the world want to keep it a secret because they flock here in droves, and this is their playground, and they don't want anybody to put dirt in their water. So why would they say how beautiful it is or show the world how good it can be when it doesn't benefit them to tell us how gorgeous it is? It doesn't benefit them at all. So when I say, visit South Africa, South Africa's beautiful, come and taste the food, come meet the people, I get skepticism not only from my own people, but from the people who have been coming over here. They're like, don't tell them.
Yes. Yeah.
They're like, why? Tell them to stay at home.
Yeah.
Because they know already. And that's why it's been kept a secret, because they already know. They already know.
So that skepticism is actually also very present on the South African side. And I see it a lot online. Where I could say it's kind of a growing feeling that even native South Africans are like, but why are we getting so much attention? And I guess also on the economical end, which I do understand, I think right now the current issue online, because I check online conversations on various things, is that, okay, it's great that we have people coming into the country, but unfortunately, because of their currency, they are outworking us, properties, not outworking us, sorry, outbuying us, in terms of property prices, rentals, experiences. Because if 15 people coming from the US or Europe will then buy 15 properties at a higher price, why would real estate agents then drop the prices or keep the prices affordable for the locals? How do we work together?
So it's ironic you say that, because what a house is worth here in South Africa is what a house is worth, right? Okay. So the agents that we work with understand that what you're not going to do is increase the price because it's a foreigner. Now, there are people that probably do that, but the people that we work with don't play those types of games. So when it comes to pricing a South African out of the market, that's something that South Africans have to ask other South Africans about. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. So it's not me causing the price to go up. It's whoever's pricing that property that's doing that. Yeah. And if they know that the buyer is foreigner, then they're doing something illegal by raising the price anyway, because it's against the law here in South Africa to raise a price based on who's buying it.
I get it. Yeah.
I've talked to enough agents and I've talked to enough developers and builders. That's against the law. So if that's happening, that has nothing to do with us.
Yes. Yeah.
When it comes to outworking them. Obviously, most of the Americans that come here aren't working, so we're not taking jobs.
Yeah.
A lot of us want to create space for the South African. So when I think about that aspect of like us coming and taking away, what have the colonizers been doing?
Yeah.
So you're looking at me as if I'm not one of you.
Yeah.
You're looking at me as if I'm coming to take when that's the last thing I'm coming to do. Now, the other people that you let come over here willingly and buy tons of property in Cape Town and frolic all day long, you happily welcome them, happily. They're bringing money. Well, we're bringing money too.
Yes.
Like, why am I not accepted? But they are. That's a mindset thing. And that has nothing to do with what we're doing as
And
far
what
as
you
like,
stand for.
not
And
it close.
These are the conversations that are important, right? So that we can, that's why I said that, what do we do to actually work together? Because personally, and I'll speak for myself, it's my podcast and my platform, I am beyond excited at the fact that we have more African Americans or people, Black people from other countries coming to experience, to enjoy, to engage with South Africa and also coming to invest, you know? So when you see these conversations online, you also start thinking, okay, what does that mean? Okay, do we have a problem? How do we work it out? So I hope you got that it's really about coming in to add value.
Yes.
And as Latasha mentioned, she said that the price of a property that will be bought by one of my clients is the price of the property in the country. It's not going to be hiked up because it's a foreign person buying it because they're coming with a US dollar.
100%.
Do I have it right?
No, that's right. That's right. And the people, and again, I'll reiterate, and the people that are increasing the price because there's a foreign buyer, that is in and of itself against the law here in South Africa.
Yes.
So if that's something that you're coming across, just know that it has nothing to do with the real South Africa. It has nothing to do with the Black Americans buying properties here in the country. A lot of them that are coming here, they're coming to actually invest. They bought multiple properties so that they can rent out and make some money and then give you an opportunity to have a place to stay maybe a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
But they're all opportunities. And that's how we see South Africa. We see South Africa as an opportunity, no different than the other persuasions do. They see it as an opportunity. They come here without hassle, but we're doing it. And now it's like, don't bring any more Black people. I'm like, why would you say that?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, for real.
Like, why would you say that?
Because at the end of the day, it all boils down to unity. I don't want us to get political, but I hope you caught that and we cleared up a bit of confusion or issues. I know that working with people is challenging.
It's fun.
I've worked with fun and challenging.
Okay.
What are the challenges that you have experienced? Because when you're bringing people into a place, number one, they've never been to, holding a lot of skepticism, sometimes even attitude, or being a bit uppity, you know? Different people have got different things,
They
right?
do.
So what are the challenges that you come across and how do you get over it? If there is a system or process that you use, please fill us in. Deep breath.
I'm going to take a deep breath because all of those things that you mentioned, from attitude to skepticism to
superiority complex,
all of those things. In the beginning, I will tell you it was difficult because they were already here when those things happened. What we put in place now is what we like to call a vetting system. So we mostly screen most of our people.
Oh, nice.
So if we find that you are not a good candidate to be a client of the Real South Africans, we will kindly just decline. So we can tell in the phone call if you're a good fit for us or not. And if you're not a good fit, then we move on.
That's very interesting.
But I did the same thing at the clinic. If a client, if a patient was becoming difficult, or during the evaluation, it seemed like they weren't going to click with the not the atmosphere, but the environment of the clinic, like how everybody was moving, then I would politely tell that person, here's your evaluation, please take this, and you're not a good fit for our space, and I would move them on. So I won't have anybody in my space that disrupts it, ever.
I really like that because it literally, you are adding kind of a notch to what comes into the business outside of money, right? Because sometimes you get so super focused. Oh, let me have 100 people coming in, and then it's 100 bad experiences,
Yes.
all because you just didn't want to do that screening. Okay, maybe that's an idea for your business. Do screening before you take on clients. You know, not all money is good money.
Hey, say it again. Say it again.
Not all money is good money. So how do you get over it though? What do you do? How do you okay, you said that it happened before because they were already here. So
Right.
now there's a vetting system.
Yes.
So there's less.
A lot less.
Issues.
Almost none.
Okay.
Almost none. If there's any issues now, it might be something simple like a light in their bathroom doesn't come on and I have to call the hotel and get them to change a light bulb. Like things that are beyond my control, but the things that I can control, I 100% control. And I control them up front. And I manage expectations. I let them know what to expect when they come. So we do a lot of work on the front end before they get here so that they know how to behave.
Yeah. How to talk.
How to talk to people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Don't walk up to somebody and be like, hey, that's not going to work. You might want to be like, hello, Sawana, something along those lines. And Johnny, like, try. Greet people first. Be polite. Tip your servers, tip your drivers, talk to people. So we literally guide them through that whole process months in advance before they show up so that they're ready when they get here. And they're like, yes, I can do this.
I love that.
Yeah, so
I'm a
cultivate.
Cultivate, right? So I'm a first-time guest in South Africa, and then I decide I want to come back.
Okay.
I want to stay permanently.
Oh, gosh.
How does that go?
So we're not a relocation service.
Okay.
So we just wrote an ebook that says, hey, these are the steps you could take. It always starts with a visit, which is why we do our tourism company. Then we encourage them to come on a real estate tour. So you actually have an idea. And then once they've done the real estate tour and they've bought the book and they have an idea, then we can kind of say, okay, now let's look at what visa you would qualify for, because you can't just move to another country. So we would assist them with their visa. And then once they've done the real estate tour, bought the ebook, got a visa, once they're on ground, then we can kind of point them in the right direction, but they won't need us after all of that. And that's really where we want to be. We don't want anybody needing us. So we give them as much information as we can so they can make informed decisions, and then they can just, and we've done it for a lot of people. A lot of people have moved here and I haven't seen them since they moved. They're living their best life.
Strangers.
Yep.
Independence.
Yes.
I like that, right? Because you want people to actually be by themselves.
I do.
Much sooner.
Yes.
Is there any resistance towards the work you do as the real South African?
Yes.
Because we all know, we all know everything that is meant to either unite, empower, or just, elevate Africans, Black people in general. You're never alone, right? We are never alone. So what are the resistance factors that exist in the work that you do?
The resistance is that when I'm showing people beautiful women, beautiful men, good food, high quality of life, living standards, they tell me that that's not real. And that I need to be showing the real South Africa, which is,
poverty, shacks.
So there are people that want to see what I like to call poverty porn. I'm not into that. That's not my life. I'm not going to go someplace that doesn't fit my life. I'm going to live where I live.
Yes.
When I was in America, I lived where I lived. I wasn't down there. So if I lived in America and had to do tourism to America, I still wouldn't be down there because that's not where I am. Now, if that's what you're looking for, I'm absolutely not the person for you. Just keep it moving.
Period.
So those are the people that say what I'm doing is not real because I'm not showing poverty, because I'm not talking about the inequities that are in this country. I would be remiss if I didn't say that happens everywhere. Go to the US, the divide is there.
Yeah.
There's poverty. There's people that really don't know where they're going to get food from right now. Even if I was in America, I wouldn't be down here. My life was here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was slowly elevating. So
Yes.
I come here and I get in on the level that I was at, and then I'm able to move up higher. So I meet resistance because people honestly think that what we're showing isn't real. And I'm like, how can it not be real?
If it exists.
If you're, not only does it exist, but you're literally watching me do it. Well, that's not in Johannesburg. That's in Pretoria. It's still in South Africa.
Yeah. How do you protect yourself from that? Because I know that you have a very big YouTube community, and we know that online people are bold and they've got great ideas.
They are bold.
And they're smart and they're intelligent to comment on each and everything. How do you protect yourself from that energy? Because at the end of the day, you've put in your life's worth work into having this establishment, having this movement, and comes someone who's going to say, you're not showing the real. How do you protect yourself from such?
I'll be honest and tell you, I don't read the comments.
Okay.
That is something that Mark does because he is able to not blow a gasket reading them.
Yeah.
I want to fire back. But that's just my personality. If I can stay away from it to protect myself, I'm not going to knowingly go read something that's going to inflame me. That's not how I protect my peace. I just stay away from it completely. Mark is able to read the comments and move on. Not a power I've amassed yet. I just want to be away from it. So I don't read them. I don't read them. And the few that I do read will be some of the positive ones, but and then sometimes it gets so bad that we do have to block people.
Yeah.
Because they go in and they go personal.
Yeah.
They go very personal.
I get that.
So he handles that. I think he protects me from it because when I was reading the comments early on and when we first moved here, it would tear me up. I'd be like, why are people saying bad things about us? We're not doing anything. I would take it personal. He's like, you can't take it personal. These are people that you're probably never going to meet. And they're just grandstanding because they know we can't get to them.
Exactly.
And those are facts as well. But yeah, so I don't read the comments.
That's a great move. Maybe I should start, on TikTok because that's where I get a bit of, sometimes.
What
because people always have to say something.
You know what my husband's favorite line of yours is? People are gonna hate on you because you got a clean shirt on. He loves that.
Just because you took a bath.
He loves that.
You took a bath.
He loves that. He loves that.
Because you took a bath, So your work, your line of work, your business, really from looking on the outside in, is very relaxed, soft, because you're all over the country.
I work
enjoying
Noluthando.
I know it, but we're bringing people in.
Okay.
So I know you work hard. I know that.
I do.
But looking from the outside in, you're having lunches.
Yes.
You're at spas.
Yes.
Touring and stuff. Envy comes in, and this could be from anywhere in the world.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. And is there anything that you do to also protect yourself from envy? Because social media does breed envy, and people watching you thinking that you are having an absolutely great time can breed a lot of things that I don't know what people do when they're envious.
I don't either. I would say if there is envy, it's very silent. And by silent, I mean they won't comment at all.
Okay.
Like, I think there's a lot of looky-loos.
Yes, monitoring
a
spirits.
Lot of people like scrolling like, she's at a spa again. Yeah, this one lasted 10 hours. Like that kind of thing. She's always there. She's always talking about her life, whatever. Yeah. But I'm really just promoting tourism. And it just happens to be a part of my life.
I get it.
So I think that they do it silently.
Monitoring spirits. You gotta be careful of those. Pray for protection every day.
I think they do it.
So Beaumovation is, as I mentioned, a collaboration between beauty and motivation. But the beauty that we focus on is not really the superficial part. It's really, cultivating yourself from the inside out.
100%.
And I know that with your staunch our followers, they love the fact that you look so radiant all the time.
Oh,
I mean, she
do
does
I?
not have makeup. Girl,
Do
stop.
I? I look radiant with no makeup on.
Like, she doesn't
Sorry,
have makeup on.
it's not.
She's
It's
like,
not my thing.
right?
It's not my thing.
Always looking radiant, always looking relaxed, always looking, to be very honest, just alive and
Yes,
well.
I appreciate that.
How do you achieve that?
Sleep.
Okay.
Lots of sleep. Lots of water.
Yeah.
And lots of healthy eating.
Yeah.
And recently the gym. So I'm like, I do a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
I'm not even gonna front. Like, so I read, I write.
Yes.
If I'm not reading or writing, I'm listening to a podcast. Like, there's always something. And I do that because I have to have moments where I am inspired. I have to have downtime moments. So if I'm not reading a book about business or a book about marketing, then I'm reading a book about something completely different. And I will do an audio book on money and read a fiction book over here.
Yes.
So, but I'm doing all that at the same time. So I have like a little bit, I'm like, okay, I'm going to read and I'm learning Zulu.
Yes.
So I'm doing,
How's that going? Askhulume phela.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Excuse me, I still have a bit of a chesty chest. But that tells me that you're doing, because you said it tells me it's going good. It tells me that that is not an American that's a you see now.
I'm working on it. I think that the pronunciations are gonna get me a little bit. But for the most part,
Me doing what? So we've got 12 languages, right?
Yes.
Which you chose Zulu. Is there a particular reason?
I chose Zulu because I feel like that's the one that I can learn that'll help me listen to others.
Okay.
So I felt like that one is where all the other languages built off of. So I kind of feel like that would be like, and I intend on like spending a lot of time in Durban, and they're very much like,
yes, that's predominantly staunch Zulu region.
And that's when I was like, I went to the grocery store, went to the grocery store.
Yeah.
And the girl says, Unjani. And I was like, I'm fine. How are you?
Disappointment.
She's like, you don't speak Zulu. I was like, no, you should try.
Yeah. Because, see, in fact, let me not even say Zulus. When you go to a region where that's where, how do I put it? That's where a certain tribe comes
that
from.
Language, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you can't just come here and not
even try.
Right?
And I said, well, show me. She was like, I just told you. She was like, Unjani.
I think you'll do well.
I said,
it starts with the so.
And then I said, I'm scared. When I told her I was scared to say it, she was like,
what's wrong with you?
You're in South Africa. You can't be scared.
Exactly. You are part of us now.
You're
so
in South Africa.
We're
you
both
can't
nations.
Be scared. Yeah.
Okay.
So between all those things keep me grounded.
Yeah.
So, and I do a little bit of each one every day just to make sure that I don't spend too much time in front of a computer.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because I can get in front of the computer and do a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm like, okay, I've been at the computer for 2 hours. Now I need to get up and I need to drink some water or I need to do. So like I try and make sure that I'm not overdoing anything to the point of missing out on other things.
And it shows. I've always told you, your skin, your radiance, always
you.
stunning.
Thanks.
Before we wrap up,
sure,
Latasha, what has South Africa taught you?
You're gonna think this is corny.
No, I won't.
You will. South Africa taught me love.
I'm not surprised.
It did. It really, really did. It taught me not just love for myself, but love for myself as a female.
Yes.
Love for myself as a Black person.
Yes.
Love in my union with my husband because we don't have that many outside forces fighting against us here. There's more ease and more flow of everything. So it's just easy to walk around and be loving all the time versus where I came from, where I was stressed all the time. And to greet someone in the grocery store would be like, I don't know you.
Yeah. What you want? We see what you want.
What you want? What you want? But to greet someone in their grocery store, to talk to the cashier, to talk to the person, that to me is like just energetic and just it's love all around, where I wouldn't do a quarter of the stuff I do here in the U.S. I wouldn't do a quarter of it.
Yeah.
I would just go on my little bubble, keep my head down, and try not to cause any problems. That's what that was my existence. Even when we were living up here, my existence was still, let me just not cause any problems. And I don't have to live like that here. I don't cause any problems,
Of course.
but
Just
but
that extra level of comfort.
I get to be here, and I get to feel loved every day, because I think South Africa in and of itself is just a good place to be. It's mentally fulfilling for me, and I feel better.
I love it.
feel
South
better.
Africa has taught me love. This is the country that other people say bad things are happening over there. South Africa has taught us love. South Africa is love. South Africa is reconciliation. South Africa is moving forward. And I think having this conversation really also just puts levels of appreciation for my country. That's why I also do what I do, to actually say you are special, you're unique, you're South African or wherever you are. But for in this particular conversation, we are focused on South Africa, and you're great, you're amazing. Anything that we can expect? In fact, before we wrap up, where can people connect with you? If they feel that maybe they'd like to collaborate with you, work with you, perhaps offer something that can be of value to the people that you bring into the country. South Africa is a country of endless possibilities.
Yes, it is.
How can they reach you? How can they connect with you?
So you can reach email is info@therealsouthafrica.com. That's the general email. I won't give you the other one because it's too long. You can reach us on Instagram, The Real South Africa 18. You can reach my personal page, The Real Dr. B, on Instagram, TikTok, The Real South Africa, and X, The Real South Africa. So, and YouTube, The Real South Africa. So we kept it simple.
Love it. And now we are wrapping up. I've been saying wrapping up. Anything that, let me rather say, what does the future look like for the real South Africa?
It looks like success.
And winning. I just love it. You're just so calm and unapologetic.
No, listen, the work that I put in, if it does not bear fruit, I've done something wrong. We put in a lot of work.
Yes.
A lot of good work, a lot of things to show people what has been hiding. And I know that it's not always flash to bang, but we do the work. And when we do the work, I believe I'm going to get the fruit of my labor. So that's why I say success. And I will continue to win.
And it shall be so.
It shall be so.
Stamp of approval.
Thank you.
On it. Latasha, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was an enlightening. This was an enlightening conversation. I've learned a lot. And like I said, I'm definitely taking their strategy. Offer what your competitors don't offer. And be what your competitors are not. And to you at home, know that any day you can start something, right? I mean, you've heard from Latasha in the medical field and decided to take a completely different route. And this route is still within serving people. Always try and find out how can you be of service and add value to the world. That is business. Business is really solving people's problems. And even if that particular solution that you are thinking of offering does not yet exist, be the first to offer it.
100%.
Because Mark and Latasha just said, but why do people not know how beautiful? Why does the African-American community not know how beautiful South Africa is? Let's bring them. And that could be you. I need you to have courage. I need you to believe in yourself. I need you to start. Yes, you may not have the resource. Yes, you may not have the backing, but fact is you have you. And that is sufficient enough. Start, offer a solution, offer, something, but just don't let your life pass you by. That's the whole point of Bemovation. And that's why you have to tell your mom, your sister, even your ex to subscribe to this channel so they can be a better person. Thank you, Latasha.
Thank you so
for
much. It
coming.
was wonderful. I had a good time.
I'm glad. Until next time.